Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so today we're diving into something that is just absolutely fascinating. We're going to look at the reality that building wealth, well, it actually has way less to do with how smart you are and pretty much everything to do with how you behave. It's kind of crazy, right? It turns basically all traditional financial advice completely upside down. Because getting rich, it's not about passing some complex math test. It's actually a true test of your emotional intelligence.
To really get this, we gotta start with the ultimate paradox. Have you ever heard the story of a guy named Ronald Read? He was literally a janitor who passed away back in 2014, and he left behind this staggering $8 million in savings. And no, he didn't win the lottery, he didn't inherit a single dime. He just saved consistently and let compounding do all the heavy lifting over his entire lifetime. Now put him side by side with highly educated financial executives. We're talking people with Harvard diplomas, people running Wall Street, some of whom still somehow managed to go completely broke or lose everything to bad bets. It just proves this massive point. Managing money is incredibly unique compared to literally any other field.
And this whole idea perfectly captures the core thesis from Morgan Housel's incredible work. He writes, financial success is not a hard science. It's a soft skill where how you behave is more important than what you know. You absolutely do not need a fancy Wall Street background to succeed. You just need to master the soft skill of your own psychology.
So here is exactly how we're going to rewire your brain today. We'll be hitting 5 behavioral pillars. Volatility is the price, the endless envy trap, crazy is subjective, surviving the unforeseen, and finally, the seduction of pessimism. All right, let's jump straight into pillar number 1. Volatility is the price, and what paying the fee for high returns actually looks like.
Think about it like this. Imagine choosing between paying for a luxury watch or, trying to steal it. You pay for it, right? Because nice things have a fee. Well, in investing, that fee is volatility. Take Netflix, for example. If you had seen its bright future a decade ago and invested heavily, you'd be sitting pretty right now. But honestly, could you have actually stomached an 80% drop in Netflix stock back in 2011? I mean, the company lost tons of customers, the stock just absolutely plummeted, and your portfolio would have looked horrific. Could you have looked your family in the eye, knowing their financial future might be on the line, and still held on? That brutal 80% drop? That was the fee required to get those massive rewards we see today. And look, even broad, super safe investments like the S&P 500 charge this exact same fee. If you had bought an S&P 500 index fund in 1980, historically speaking, you would have spent 13 combined years, 13 years, where your portfolio was down 20% from its high. You'd also have spent a total of about 8 months watching it drop by half, 50%. Stock market investing builds incredible wealth, sure, but it does not come for free. You've got to look at these terrifying downturns not as a fine for making a mistake, but simply as the admission ticket you pay for a brighter future.
Okay, that brings us to pillar number 2, the endless envy trap, and the very real danger of social comparison.
You see, capitalism is exceptionally good at doing two things: creating immense wealth and creating endless envy. And the trap is right here on this ladder. Let's say you're a highly specialized doctor, bringing in 500 grand a year. You feel like you're on top of the world. Until, you buy a vacation home and realize the guy next door is a CEO pulling in $10 million a year. Suddenly, you feel kind of inadequate. But that CEO, he happens to be childhood friends with Michael Jordan, who's worth $2 billion. And Jordan, he hangs out at parties with Jeff Bezos, who's sitting on over $200 billion. It never ends. Whether you're a rich doctor or a multimillionaire, there is literally always a bigger fish. And that makes the never enough mindset incredibly toxic.
This envy trap, it's caused people throughout history to do some really foolish things. People leverage their portfolios to the absolute teeth. They act on sketchy inside info, and they end up losing their reputations, their families, even going to jail, just to climb a totally arbitrary pyramid. You have to eventually accept that enough is enough. As the golden rule of wealth goes, we will never, ever trade something that we have and need for something that we don't have and don't need.
Moving right along to pillar 3, crazy is subjective. We're going to look at why understanding totally different perspectives is an absolute game changer.
At first glance, people do things with their money that just seem completely crazy. But remember, we all come from different backgrounds, different childhoods, different life experiences. Take lottery tickets. To a high-income earner, dropping cash on the lottery is, mathematically speaking, a ridiculous waste. But get this, the lowest income households in the US spend more than $400 a year on them. Why? Because they're living paycheck to paycheck. They can't afford a nice vacation or to put their kids through college without taking on crushing debt. So what seems like utter madness to a wealthy person actually makes total logical sense to someone who's just using that $400 to buy into a dream that they literally can't access any other way.
So, how does knowing this actually help you? Well, by acknowledging these vastly different perspectives, we can finally stop blindly copying the portfolios of people who are playing an entirely different game. If your goal is to get rich, copying a billionaire whose only goal is to stay rich might completely derail you. Acknowledge the differences, figure out your own risk profile, and just stick to your own game plan. All right, Pillar 4, surviving the unforeseen. Let's talk about preparing for black swan events. Take a look at this timeline. We've got the Great Depression, World War II, the 2008 financial crisis, and COVID-19. Author Nassim Taleb calls these black swans. They are massive outliers. They carry extreme impacts that literally shape our entire society. And the one crazy thing they all share, absolutely zero of them could be confidently predicted beforehand. Not a single one. Yet, human nature always kind of tricks us into believing we should have seen them coming.
Because of that, the numbers we see here are absolutely crucial to understand. If you'd invested in the S&P 500 20 years ago and just did nothing, you'd have yielded a 291% return. But if you tried to get smart, tried to predict the market, jumped out because you were scared, and missed just the 4 best performing days in that entire 20-year span, your return plummets to 164%. You simply cannot predict disasters. Instead, you have to prepare yourself both mentally and financially to just survive them when they inevitably show up.
Finally, we hit Pillar 5, the seduction of pessimism, and why bad news somehow always sounds way smarter than good news. Seriously, think about it. If I told you the market was going to crash tomorrow, you would lean in and listen closely. But if I promised a booming economy, you'd probably just shrug it off. The psychology behind this, which Daniel Kahneman explains beautifully, is called an asymmetry towards loss. Basically, listening to pessimists is an evolutionary survival treat. Organisms that treat threats as more urgent than opportunities just have a much better chance of surviving in the wild. And that is exactly why the pessimist always sounds incredibly intelligent, while the optimist, they often just sound kinda naive. On top of that, it's really all about the speed of the narrative. Tragic setbacks happen overnight. A market crash, a natural disaster, they're highly dramatic and extremely easy to spin a persuasive, attention-grabbing story around. The global progress, wealth creation, that stuff compounds quietly, totally in the background, over very long and vague timelines. Progress rarely happens overnight, but setbacks absolutely do. So naturally, setbacks steal all our attention. So, bringing this all together, these are the core mindset shifts from Morgan Housel's work that you really need to internalize. Accept that volatility is a fee you simply have to pay, not a fine. Break that toxic envy ladder and define what enough means for you. Respect the vastly different financial lenses through which other people view the world. Prepare your portfolio to survive disasters rather than foolishly trying to predict them. And finally, resist that seductive allure of pessimism, knowing that real progress is a slow, quiet force. This completely reframes wealth, not as some complex math test, but as the ultimate test of your emotional intelligence. I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. Now that you see the psychological traps of money, and you know for a fact that wealth is ultimately a soft skill, what is the one financial behavior you're going to change starting today? Are you going to stop comparing yourself to your neighbors? Are you going to finally embrace market drops as just the cost of admission? The choice and your financial future is entirely in your hands. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. If you love this deep dive and want to keep rewiring your brain with us, make sure to hit that subscribe button to the channel for more content just like this.